This is Personal Injury Court.
You are suing the Florences for injuries that you sustained while at a birthday party for kids on the Florences' property, and you're suing them for $10,000 in medical expenses, $7,500 for lost wages, and $82,500 for pain and suffering, for a total of $100,000. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. and Mrs. Florence, you all believe that she was a mama bear. She was a bit of a pushy parent, and she's kind of responsible for her own injuries, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, now let's get into the legal sauce. What led up to you going to this birthday party?
Yes, my son and the Florence's son go to school together, and I don't know them very well just from when we used to be on PTA together.
But you had met them before this time?
Yes, a few times, Your Honor.
Okay.
So they invited us to a birthday party for their son, and we were under the impression it was going to be a lot of kids their age. They were going to have farm animals there that the kids could interact with. You know, all the parents were excited, all the kids were excited. My son kept begging me to be able to go.
Had you ever taken your son to a petting zoo or anywhere where there were animals before this day?
Yes, Your Honor, I had.
So you knew what to expect?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And we arrived, and things did not turn out the way they should have.
Tell me what happened with Mabel.
So as I was saying, we were able to get closer per the permission of the Florences. They
Okay.
told everyone we could get closer to take pictures. As a group, a lot of the kids ran up. The parents were with them to take pictures. There were several parents and people that were taking pictures from afar.
How close to Mabel are you at this point?
I would say maybe 2 feet, 3 feet tops.
2 inches, Your Honor?
That's pretty close.
No.
Were you comfortable at 2 feet away?
Yes, as I said, I've never had an issue with the llama before, especially in a petting zoo.
So what happened?
So we're standing there in front of the llama, ready to take pictures. We were told that it was a gentle animal.
Okay.
So we took that word, and we start to take pictures, and I noticed that the llama starts getting fidgety and wiggling around, moving a little
Was
bit
there
more.
flash or anything that made her wiggle?
Not at that point.
Okay.
So the kids...
A wiggling llama.
Well,
Your
Okay.
Honor, what she hasn't told you about this is that she went straight up to Mabel, and to get a picture with her son, she started snapping in Mabel's face and whistling.
That
Okay,
is
now,
not true,
now
Your
tell me
Honor.
about that.
So
That is not true.
Hold on,
act like
hold
you're
on.
around an animal, you're
That's
gonna
important.
get what you deserve.
That's important.
Okay.
Did you snap when you're trying to get Mabel's attention?
No, Your Honor, I was not snapping. Now, I did,
Yes, you did,
I
Your
did
Honor.
try
That's a
to
lie.
get
You did.
attention of the llama so that it wasn't looking away from the camera.
By snapping her fingers.
So you're up close to Mabel.
Right.
You're
I'm
trying to get a
2 feet away
photograph.
I'm trying to get a photograph.
How do you get hurt near a wiggling llama?
Well,
Your Honor, I'll tell you how she got hurt.
Well, I asked her. I'll hear from you.
So, Your Honor, as I could tell that the llama was getting agitated, I pushed my son out of the way, and as I tried to flee from it as well, it actually reared up and it spit on me, and I tried to flee, and when it
deserved
reared
it.
up, I slipped
I'd spit
and
at you, too.
fell and hurt my back. No one deserves to be hurt like this. No one deserves to be hurt,
If you would've
period.
followed instructions,
Especially
you
at a
would've never
kid's
been hurt.
birthday party.
That's right, if
My
you would've
son
followed
was
instructions.
traumatized
All these
because of
other
what
kids could
happened
follow
to me.
instructions and no one else got hurt.
I'm in so much pain.
Yeah.
And so is my son from seeing this. I can't even hold my son like I used to. I can't do
couldn't even hold
anything
him
that a
before.
mom should be able to do because
Folks,
of what
I need
your
order.
animal did.
Yes, Your
I need order in this court. I think I've heard enough. I'm ready to render my decision. In every personal injury case, you really have 3 things you have to prove. Mrs. Clinton, you have to prove that the Florences were wrong and that their wrong caused your injuries. Here, though, Mrs. Clinton, you moved. You pulled your boy out the way. You tried to get a photo. That's taking some risk when you don't know this animal. You all, on the other hand, close to the animal, taking pictures, loud noises, swift movements, those things set Mabel off, and you should have done a better job to notify parents, because frankly, we're dealing with kids. A kid could have gotten hurt.
you.
But this case represents a shared fault. That is, the law recognizes that fault can be compared. It's called comparative negligence. Here, I find that you were responsible, but you weren't half responsible. You decided to run. Some would call that an overreaction. You all are certainly at fault because this llama was within your control. You could have given better instructions. I find that you are 49% responsible. And instead of awarding you $100,000 as you seek, I'm going to award you 51% of that, and that is $51,000 against the Florences. That is my final decision. and this matter is adjourned.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. and Mrs. Richardson, it's my understanding that you all are suing Mr. Hickman for injury, severe shoulder injury that you sustained when you slipped on peanuts at his restaurant. You're asking this court to award you $125,000 for medical expenses, $200,000 for pain and suffering, and a total award of $325,000. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Hickman, you believe she slipped on peanuts that were there. She should have known they were there, and it's not your fault, right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And part of the fun is throwing these nuts on the floor, drinking beer, just kind of real laid
Having a
back.
great time. It adds to the country atmosphere.
And that's what you all had anticipated the retirement party would be, right?
Well, I didn't anticipate it to be that much peanuts on the floor. When I went to tour the place, it was only a few shells on the floor.
So you didn't know that people throw
No, I did
shells
not.
on the floor?
I did not.
Look at
That's-
this. This is
that
the
was
shot
at
of
my-
the floor in the restaurant.
At my party, right. That wasn't like that the day I went on a tour.
Well, y'all must have had either a lot of elephants or a lot of people that like peanuts.
It was a
'cause
lot of peanuts,
That's a
right.
lot of peanuts. So tell me how you got injured.
So
not true.
We're having fun, we're drinking, we're eating, and I didn't know that the restaurant was known for the nuts. I thought it was known for the food. So we're eating, having a good time, we're laughing and drinking. So one of his waitresses walks over to me and said, well, you're retired. Why don't you start a conga line? You know, I'm a party
I
person.
love 'em.
I like to dance, which, as you can see there, I'm a dancer. So I love dancing. I had no problem with dancing, so I got up. As soon
Now,
as
those can get pretty rowdy, right?
As soon as I stepped on the
depending on how
floor.
much beer you've had, you know?
Well, I didn't have any beer.
Okay.
So as soon as I stepped on the floor, bam. I mean, I fell and bust my behind. I started screaming, crying. I felt my leg was broken, my hip, I couldn't move. My husband's trying to comfort me, and I'm like, get off me. I mean, I'm just hysterical because I'm embarrassed, first of all.
So you saw this, Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'm
Yes, Your Honor.
embarrassed, I'm in pain. The only thing I didn't hit was my head, which I'm glad.
And how is it that peanuts get on the floor? Aren't people supposed to eat the meat and throw the shells on the floor?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
is
so
there-
the shells are on the ground, not the peanuts.
Peanuts on the ground.
The peanuts being on the floor creates at least a
Oil.
different picture, right?
Yes?
Yes, but usually it's shells, it's not peanuts. So
Well,
it's not that much oil.
Somebody comes
And
into your
after-
restaurant, they fall, they get hurt. How's that not your fault? It's your place.
Thank
your
you.
nuts, your shells.
She knew the risks before coming there. She toured the place and said she wanted to book it there.
But it wasn't that
so
many
she
nuts
was
on the
satisfied.
floor.
I thought, great, another happy
No.
customer. She even remarked, Your Honor, when she came and toured the restaurant, she remarked how much she
This is
loved the place and
this
how
is
much her
before the
friends.
party.
Correct, and how much her friends were going to love it too.
Right, because
well,
it was a
okay.
do you
casual-
remember that?
Yes.
Did the floor look like that?
No.
She came during
No.
lunch. It wasn't
No.
as bad as that.
No.
Okay.
See,
There were
thank you.
clearly there were shells, discarded shells on the ground. Make
Had
sure
I
it's a safe
known it was
walkway.
going to be like that, I would have worn different shoes.
Now,
What? People go nuts for our nuts? What did you think that meant?
Well,
That
what
they
did
just like
Miss-
nuts.
Miss Richardson?
They like crazy people. I knew they
Who
were.
wears open-toed shoes? Why not
Mr. Hickman,
flats?
Mr.
It
Hickman,
didn't match my outfit. Come on.
order in this court.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Order in this court.
Sorry, Your Honor.
You guys got to talk to me.
I'm sorry, Your
If
Honor.
you want her to make the decision, keep talking to her. I got to figure this out. You run a restaurant that people throw peanuts and shells on the floor. She should have known this. That's why she booked the place, because of that shtick. This had never happened to you before. And frankly, you've been making the point that it's obvious. People are here for our nuts.
People go nuts for our nuts, Your Honor.
Under the law, I've got to consider everybody's responsibility. But here's the problem. Your waitress started a conga line, and that's what tips the scales. Here, I find that you are partially responsible for your injuries, but I'm going to find in your favor only because your waitress was involved. Mrs. Richardson, I find that you are 49% responsible for your injuries. You are suing for $325,000. 51% of that is $165,750. I'm making that award in that amount to you, taking into account your partial responsibilities for your injuries. I find in your favor in the amount of $165,750. That is my final verdict, and this matter is adjourned.
Michelle and I have been best friends since high school. We were inseparable, Your Honor, to the point where if you've seen one, you always seen the other. We even attended the same college. I don't go anywhere without her. And it was her 40th birthday coming up, and she had never had a surprise party before, so I wanted to do something big
That's
to help her
nice.
get over the hill, you know?
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
so I rented this vacation home, and I was gonna throw her a surprise party there.
Mr. Woods, tell me about your vacation home.
Owned the home for about 12 years with my ex-wife. The house is amazing. It's got an amazing view.
This is your house here?
Yeah, and
That's
you
a
can't
beautiful
tell.
place.
Thank you. I've been renting it out for about 1.5 years, and it stays booked. There's usually a waiting period, and yeah, it's been a good deal for me for sure.
Miss Griffith, this was supposed to be this big birthday party. Tell me how you got hurt.
So, Your Honor, the party was supposed to take place around 8 o'clock that night, so it was already starting to get dark. So I had gotten everyone to come early, and I was getting the party ready, and
Okay.
I was watching for Michelle to pull up with 2 other of our friends. I seen headlights coming up towards the house, so I took off running ahead of them, and as I ran around the house, I ran straight through the sliding glass door. Yeah.
And that's how you
So-
did this.
Yes, Your Honor. It knocked me unconscious, but as I come to, you know, I could hear Michelle yelling and screaming my name, but I couldn't see her. I was completely out of it, Your Honor. There's glass everywhere. I can't find my glasses. They're broken, and there's blood. The blood, Your Honor, when I tell you there was so much blood, I've never seen that much blood in my
So
life.
you go face first through a glass door?
Yes, Your Honor. But the blood was unreal. So I go into panic mode at that point because I was knocked unconscious. I didn't know what was going on.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm looking down and I see cuts, as you can see, on my arms, my face. I had to get stitches on my forehead. It was not only embarrassing because of all the people that were there, and not only did I ruin my best friend's 40th birthday with all of this that happened, but I was hurt really bad.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, you know, when you get that blow to your face, it knocks off everything.
Yes.
Mr. Woods, you get somebody shredded by one of your glass doors at your property. Why isn't this your fault?
It's absolutely not my fault, and if I can tell you my recollection,
Please.
recollection from that day, we did a walkthrough about 3 o'clock that afternoon.
Okay.
I know that there was drinking involved. I don't know how
So
much.
what?
We were doing the walkthrough. You saw that panel glass. That's where we went through it. And about 9 o'clock that night, I get a call from Michelle, frantically calling, and told me the story. And my initial reaction is, I'm sorry. I mean, I can see how it's
Well, I
painful,
imagine that
embarrassing.
frightened you too. I mean, to have somebody cut up like this at your property has got to frighten you as the property
Sure,
owner.
I don't want anyone to get hurt at my property, but I've been renting this out for 1.5 years. Never once has this ever occurred to anyone to run into a glass door, which who does that? Who's running at night to begin with?
Real simple evidence that Mr. Woods did not use the proper glass.
Yes.
You were excited about the party. You thought the door was open. Your friend had come. The big bash and surprise were about to begin. You run through this glass door. It shreds your face and your arms and shreds your life. Mr. Woods, you believe this is also very simple. She ran through the glass and hurt herself. And you put her on notice earlier that this is a glass door if you can't look at it and see that it is. It's right here. You open it and walk through. If you run through it, you get hurt. You believe because of that common sense, it's her fault. With this case, I love this case because it requires me to go back to law school. There are several legal principles that it sheds light on. The first is the duty of care. As a landowner, you're supposed to take reasonable measures to protect your guests. Hands down, Miss Griffith, you have proven that Mr. Woods was wrong. He did not use the proper glass. You would have had at most a bruised nose. The other legal principle is you have a duty of care. You've got to be careful in walking through doors to make sure that they're open. In putting the glass in, he's got to anticipate proper use of the door. The other legal principle is open and obvious danger. A glass door is what it is. You knew it from earlier. Here, I find that you both were responsible for your injuries. And under the law, when that happens, the defendant must win. And despite how I feel about this and your attitude and how severe your injuries are, I must find for the defendant and against the plaintiff, and that is my final verdict. This matter is adjourned.